Good morning, everybody. How are you? Today is my first video for Life Cycle. Life Cycle is going to be a series of videos that will be dedicated to subjects that concern us all. And today, the very first one will be dedicated to love. Right? So, come with me. Let's sit comfortably and let's start reading. You have witchcraft in your lips. His unkindness may defeat my life, but never taint my love. Or, she loved me for the dangers I had passed, and I loved her that she did pity them. William Shakespeare. This kind of love hails back in the Romantic era, that the Romantic era also hailed back to the Enlightenment. And the Enlightenment was the time where the Europeans rediscovered the classicals, the ancient Greeks. So that's where this kind of love hails from. But the sad part of it is that it's only, as I said, a part of it. This is what the ancient Greeks would describe as Eros, in Greek. Eros is what happens when two people love each other, fall in love in English with each other. Eros is the sexual attraction, desire, the passion, all that has to do with lust and all these very passionate feelings and emotions. Eros, Plato used to say, that's the most beautiful, the most powerful blessing from heaven. Plato knew something, right? So, what do we know about Eros other than the Cupid that targets us with an arrow? Nothing much, right? We expect that Eros is going to last a lifetime. Sadly, we expect that feeling to last forever, because it doesn't. Usually it lasts from a year to 2 maximum. But in the meantime, if there is another kind of feeling created between two lovers, what the ancient Greeks were calling Philia, the second word describing love. So if Philia is being created between two lovers, after Eros, then love can be created, what the ancient Greeks were calling Agape. But let's take each one separately. So Eros is a sexual attraction between two people, lust. And then there is Philia. Philia is, we've got friends up there. Philia, the second type of love, it was usually met between comrades, between brothers in arms in the battlefields. With this kind of love, Philia, brothers in arms were willing and they were dying in the battlefields. This is so powerful. According to Aristotle, that was the most powerful type of love. And this is the type of love that, if it is also created between two people that they are in love, they have Eros. So if Eros and Philia get together, then the third type of love is being created. Agape, that is being born when Eros and Philia coexist. But not only, Agape for the ancient Greeks was considered the type of love that we would have for anybody, just like a stranger. It's a universal type of love, and it's the type of love that the very first Christians adopted as the kind of love that Jesus was talking about. So when we are talking about Agape, we're talking about the kind of love that we should have with each other. The caring and the respect and the loyalty and all this kind of good terms that we could describe in order to say what love is. So when the ancient Greeks were talking about Agape, they were talking about a type of charity and benevolence. It was the type of love that you would show to strangers and to people that they weren't really connected with you. So Agape is not just for the couples that they evolved from Eros to Philia, but also for people that you didn't know, people that they were complete strangers to you. The exhibition of love, of Agape, was very important. And that was the third word. There is also another word called storghi. Storghi, believe it or not, to me, it might be the most significant for all these types of love. Let's talk about it. Storghi, it's the most beautiful feeling when you feel it from somebody else. What I mean by saying that, right? The way you try to feel someone to leave the dark times he's going through, to be better, to feel better, to come back to the light. That's what storghi is. Another example, if a child is sick and is in bed with fever, the way his mother or her mother would be by his side and would try to make him feel better and would try to make him smile and caress him and hug him and put even like little gestures, like put her hand on his forehead just to feel the temperature, or just on the cheeks, or the way she touches the hands, like there are little beautiful affectionate things that make a huge difference. That's what storghi is. The little things that all together make a huge difference. And the sad thing is that, especially in the Western societies, there is no such thing, especially within the families, from the parents to the children, because that's the kind of love that we usually find we usually do not find we usually do not find in the families nowadays. And that's where we should find it, because that's where children should first be taught what love is, by storghi. Storghi is the type of love that a child is taking from his parents. If this type of love a child is not taught when it's very young, at a very young age, this type of person is going to grow up into a dysfunctional character, a dysfunctional personality. It is very sad and it is very powerful to say something like this, but it is so true. I've seen it, and I'm sure most of you have seen it. When children do not get storghi from their families when they're young, when they grow, when they're adults, they become very cold. They have many phobias. They have many fears. That's what I mean when I say phobias, right? They have many problems, many, that's why I said before, dysfunctional characters and personalities, because they have many dysfunctions. They do not know what real love is, because they never took it as children. That's why many psychologists and many people that I respect and I adore, they say that, give me a child until he's 7 years old, and I'm going to give you the man that's going to be in all his life. Of course, that's not what these people say only. They took it back from the monks in the medieval years, that they knew all this wisdom from the ancient Greeks, the power of storghi. That's why I said before that for me is the most significant type of love, because without storghi, no person grows up to be a normal human. I know that that might sound very, very extreme to you, but think about it. When a child does not get storghi from his parents, feels that if his parents didn't love him enough or didn't love him at all to show him this kind of storghi, nobody else in his life will. And don't get me wrong, I know that a lot of parents love their children, but they do not know how to give that love in the right way, because maybe they never took love in the right way themselves. And maybe the parents that they brought them up, they didn't know how to bring them up right in the first place. So what I'm trying to say is that this is a vicious cycle that you should stop at some point. When we know and we realize that storge is what creates beautiful people, we should give that to our children. We should give this kind of love the best way possible to little children, because that's what will make them beautiful, happy, successful people. When a child gets deprived of storge, thinks that rejection is all he deserves. And that is a very dangerous path. These people usually have problems with their relationships, with their marriages. They have broken marriages, broken relationships. If they have children, their children get the same kind of love that they got. So this vicious cycle never stops. So you understand now why I think storge is the most significant of all these types of love. And of course, as you understand, in the future, I will have many more episodes, many more videos focusing on the specific type of love and the problems that they're being created by this absence, the absence of storge. But now we're going to go to the next word that describes the type of love for the ancient Greeks, and that word is xenia. Xenia is the ancient Greek sacred rule of hospitality, the generosity and courtesy shown to those who are far from home and or associates of the person bestowing guest friendship. The rituals of hospitality created and expressed a reciprocal relationship between guest and host, expressed in both material benefits, for example, gifts, protection, shelter, of course, as well as non-material ones, favors, certain normative rights, and so on. So, I'm sure this to you is completely unknown type of love. But to ancient Greeks, that was very important, very important. That's why we had another word used for this kind of love, this type of love, called philoxenia, a synthetic word that, as you heard, is a combination of philos, friend, philia, and xenia. So xenia and philoxenia are so important, were so important to the ancient Greeks that even god Zeus were protecting xenia and philoxenia. So we had another word called theoxenia. Theos was God, and xenia, the type of love. So from here you can understand how important it was to ancient Greeks to be civil and kind to strangers. Xenia, philoxenia, theoxenia, that important that even nowadays in Greece, all strangers find it a paradise. Not because I'm Greek, but really, I grew up in an environment that we were taught to be so kind to strangers, even if we didn't know them, to really offer gifts, even if we didn't know them. I was taught this way. I'm a living example, and I know many more around me. Like, this is a tradition that keeps really well after more than 2,000 years now. So my friends, all these were the different types of words that ancient Greeks had to describe what we call today love. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something new today. I wait and expect your comments and your questions. Until next time, I leave you with this beautiful view and a saying from Agape that says, all we have to help one another is love. Until next time.